DHEA. We have 2 doses of DHEA here at the Village Osteopath. I have what we call the male dose and the female dose. So it's 5 milligrams and 25 milligrams, the 25 being the male, the 5 being the female. But what's it used for? DHEA is sort of like a pre-hormone. It's a building block, so to speak. So if you think about just bricks that get built into a building, it's kind of the brickwork that go into building your sex hormones. So testosterone, estrogen, things of that nature. And so if someone has low DHEA, they're probably going to have low sex hormones as well. And that's one of the causes of low sex hormones, is having not enough building blocks to make them. Another thing that DHEA does is that we can look at it in a laboratory fashion and see how your adrenal gland, which is your fight or flight hormone producer, how it's doing over a long period of time. And if any of you have heard of the test called hemoglobin A1C that looks at your blood sugars over a long period of time, the DHEA test is sort of like a hemoglobin A1C for your adrenal gland. It looks to see how your cortisol levels are functioning over time. If you have low cortisol levels over a long period of time, your DHEA levels are also going to be low in that case. Some other little tidbits about DHEA is that higher DHEA levels tend to be associated with longer lifespans. Now that doesn't mean that if you take DHEA you're going to live longer. It just means that people that have higher levels tend to live longer. So we don't know if it's an association or if actually a causation of that. Another thing that's kind of interesting, and we think that taking DHEA can also help with the release of human growth hormone. Normally we think of human growth hormone as something that helps us grow, right? It's something that kids in puberty are producing a bunch of to help them get big and strong and change from kids into men and women. But in adults, human growth hormone is our regenerative hormone. It's the one we produce when we sleep that helps our body rebuild so we get up the next day feeling refreshed. So if at all possible, taking DHEA before you go to bed is probably more beneficial than taking it during the day. That being said, some people get a little stimulated on DHEA and makes it they have a hard time going to sleep. So in that case, it's better just to take it than not take it at all in that regard. So go ahead and move it to the morning. As far as side effects, because this is kind of a pre-hormone, out of all the supplements we have here in the office, this is the one that has the most chance of side effects. And usually it's because you start building more hormones, and sometimes that can be a little weird and cause your body to do strange things. The most common side effect of this usually happens in women is going to be acne formation. So if you start noticing you're starting to have skin changes and you've started on this, it's probably this that's causing it, because it tends to make you a little more oily. Other than that, that's really about the only kind of side effect you might have, other than having to be really hyper responsive to it and produce a ton of sex hormones. Then it could really be anything. But most of the time what we've seen here is going to be acne formation. As far as testing your DHEA levels, normally on most of our new patient intakes that are here, we do check a baseline level to see how you're doing. If I recommend that you go on DHEA, we normally check it about a month out after that. And then after we get your level to what I consider an optimal amount, then we check it usually once or twice a year after that, depending on how you're doing. While I said that men typically take 25 milligrams and women typically take 5, that doesn't necessarily mean that's going to be the case for everyone. We have some women that are taking up to 50. These typically are more high endurance, like ultra endurance athletes. So people who are doing Ironman triathlons or ultra marathons, things of that nature, where they're going to be utilizing a lot of hormone. We have some men that are taking much less than 25 just because they're very sensitive to the absorption, and they do just fine. So the best way to go about this is always to check. Normally, I don't recommend starting most supplements that we have here unless we check you first. There are a few exceptions to that, but DHEA is one and iron is another one that you definitely want to make sure you check, because it can cause issues if you're taking it inappropriately. Well, I hope you enjoyed that little video about some information on that supplement. I hope you found it interesting and helps you make a decision. If you have any more questions, please feel free to give our office a call. We'd be glad to answer as many questions as we can. Probably the best way to do it, though, is to schedule a consultation. I'd be glad to go over your supplement regimen with you. We also have many ways to check your vitamin levels to make sure you're not wasting money on supplements that you don't need, and to make sure that the ones that you're taking are of a quality that will be absorbed and utilized in your body correctly. Once again, this is Dr. Scott Nall from the Village Osteopath, helping you restore your health and optimize your life.